We got this story. This is the one Luke just mentioned. Undercover cops order food, then arrest bar owner for defying NYC indoor dining rules. Look at this smug, disgusting, despicable man, Cuomo. He literally killed 6,000 people by putting sick COVID patients in nursing homes. He is, in my opinion, a murderer who set policies forth that they should have known, that I can't imagine they didn't know. At the very least, fine. I'll tone it down a little bit. He's responsible for the negligent homicide of 6,000 elderly folks by putting COVID patients in these buildings. Now what is he doing? His police, oath breakers, New York police officers, arrested a bar owner for violating COVID restrictions after executing a sting in which they ordered food from the restaurant, AP reported. The New York City Sheriff's deputies entered Mac's Public House in Staten Island, New York, and ordered $40 worth of food and beverages, according to a sheriff's office press release. Congratulations, guys. You got them selling that food. That's contraband in New York City. The sheriff's officers are wannabe cops. Mark Fonte, a lawyer who represents the bar, told the Staten Island Advance. This is what happens when little people get a little power. Each one of them will have to answer to a federal judge. Oath breakers. Praetorian Guard for unconstitutional edict that was never passed. At a certain point, the state legislators stopped saying we're going to pass laws. And it's all relatively recent. Check this one out. This is probably the most insane thing I've seen in a long time. Did you hear this? Cuomo signs bill banning the sale of Confederate flags on New York state grounds and other hate symbols. Clearly, admittedly, according to Cuomo, in violation of the First Amendment. Probably New York's Constitution as well.
Doesn't care.
They just do it. And do the police care? Nah. So you know what? At this point, look, I moved out of these places. You got Antifa setting up their autonomous zones. Quite literally don't care.
Have it.
Have at it, bro. I don't care.
Have Portland.
And I'll tell you this.
Seattle, take it.
Give them New York.
When we saw these riots, I was very much like, dude, defunding and abolishing the police is stupid. You know why? Because you need, in a civilized society, and this is like a lot of intellectual dark webs, this is Brett Weinstein said, police need to be able to make arrests. Someone is going to commit a crime, and we need a system by which they can reasonably identify somebody, arrest them, and bring them in. And so we have these laws. It makes sense. I am not an anarchist. Luke, maybe you disagree. Michael Malice disagrees. But I think police, aside from a lot of the dumb stuff, you know, the quotas, fines, or whatever, we need to be able to call a cop and say, you are the essential first layer of defense for when a crime is committed. I report it to you as an official, arbiter. You're neutral. You're not, in many cases. Then it goes to the courts, the DAs, and that's the process we have. I respect that in a lot of ways. But right now, I don't care anymore. I left these places because these cops have no allegiance to the law, to the Constitution. They are criminals at this point, well beyond my tolerance level. So let me just say one more thing. When Michael Mouse was on the show and he mentioned that in New York City, we have a constitutional right to bear arms, but these cops don't let him. They are criminals. And for me, that's not my threshold. I see his point. You know what? I kind of agree with him now. Now when I see this stuff, the cops arresting a dude for selling food, these people are despotic. They are psychopaths. And you know what, man? I just, if I was given the powers of the emperor, I'd be like, those officers' badges removed, pensions revoked, exile, away, gone. You are a criminal as far as I can tell. I won't lock them up, but get out of here.
Well, Tim, one thing you have to understand, these police officers are political. They're not apolitical. They're very political when they're following through on these decrees that haven't even been officially passed by the kind of rule of law that everyone accepts everyone to go by. There's even official case law where the New York City Police Department argued that they don't have to do anything. They don't have to help anyone during a moment of...
That was... You felt... you interviewed the guy.
Yeah.
The cops, watched a dude get stabbed.
Yes. There was a mass murderer running around. Joe Lozito, a guy who looked very similar to you. I don't know if you know about the story of Joe Lozito. Amazing human being. This random guy starts trying to kill people on the subway. He intervenes. He gets stabbed up. He takes him down. The police officers are literally standing there right next to him watching him as he's getting stabbed in his skull with a huge butcher knife, right? Then as he's subdued by Joe, as the police officers are literally watching the whole time, this whole altercation with guns, with batons, not doing anything, literally, they take Joe off, put the suspect in handcuffs, and they wait there for a long time. Joe wakes up in the hospital, almost lost his life. was an inch away from losing his life because of the blood loss, because of the time it took the NYPD to figure out what was going on. The train was in the middle of the tracks, and they took him a very long time to get them to the next track to get Joe into an ambulance. He wakes up, and he has the mayor there congratulating these police officers who are deemed heroes of who saved the innocent people, and they called Joe an innocent person. Joe took the NYPD to court, one for libel, calling him a victim when he's the one that took down the perp with the knife, as the police officers were literally standing there. And the New York City Police Department argued and won successfully that they had no duty to help, serve, or protect anyone. And that's the case law on the books right now, that the police officers don't have to do or abide by any kind of decree to do anything for you.
You know what? These city cops lost all of my support. Yeah. All of it. You know, it was bad enough when I called out the 27 cops who were guarding the Black Lives Matter mural. It was illegally painted. It basically seized taxpayer dollars to paint a political slogan, to send a message to Trump, which was just insane and irresponsible. And these cops gleefully defended what was clearly illegal. They don't care. They're breaking their oath. And I said, of those cops, take their pension away. Strip them of everything and kick them out. Take their badges, and I want to see them. Look, you're done. You're gone. Get out. At this point, I don't live in these cities. Okay, I left. I was in the Philly suburbs. It was actually a fairly nice place. We had our local department was really, really nice, and we're now essentially nearly to the point where we're officially moved away. And I was like, it's insane to say defund the police, because most police departments are not big city police departments. Big city police departments are big, massive, with huge budgets. Like New York's was like $6 billion, but most departments are not. And so you got to make sure you differentiate between what the left is saying when they say defund the police. Well, they're talking specifically about the big city cops, right? They're talking about the places where they vote for these people, these mayors. They vote for these politicians, these representatives and these governors. And then these cops get appointed. So your beef is where you live. And you know what I realized? I was like, you know, it's a really good point. Why do I care if Antifa sets up an autonomous zone? I'm not going to go there. I don't live there. And the people who live there vote for the politicians and the DAs who allow it to happen. They must like it. So far be it from me to tell them the way they should live. If they voted for it and it's being allowed, more power to you, Antifa. Congratulations on your autonomous zone. You're not going to see any resistance from me. And I'll tell you this, the cops who are there and are fighting with them, I think those cops are in the wrong. You can't allow this to happen. The DAs, the people vote for it, and the cops try and go and shut it down. Nah, at this point, if you in Oregon as an officer, are going to shut down these businesses by edict and you know, violate the rights of individuals, then why should I care if the people say this is allowed? If the DA says they're allowed to do it, then so
what
be
if
it.
someone set up an autonomous zone in your backyard?
That's different.
You call the cops?
In my backyard right now?
Yeah, on private property, on your property.
Probably not where we are, Ian, and the laws of this current location. I think if someone came onto my property,
I would not call the police.
It's a bit rhetorical. You would
They're
call
probably
the
in
cops.
trouble.
99, you might shoot them to death, but you know, ideally you would call the cops because someone's coming on private property. So that's what those people are doing.
Bro, we're in the middle of nowhere. It's pitch black outside. If people are lurking on my property, they're going to be in serious trouble. It's not like, look, when I lived on a farm in Miami, the only weapon we had was a .22 break barrel pellet rifle, because like we were not gun people at the time, especially me. It was like fun. We were just like shooting targets in the backyard. And one day someone jumped the 6-foot fence surrounding our property on a 5-acre plot. And you call the cops, congratulations, they'll be here in 40 minutes. So what do we do? Well, maybe it's not the smartest thing to have done, but I broke the barrel and dry fired it. Bang! And the person with the light ran back the way they came. Gone. If I called the police, they would have said, do you have a gun? Well, then what do you want us to do? We can't get there for 40 minutes.
40 minutes.
You know, like where we are right now, like how long it would take? No. That's why we are armed. And that's why I'm like, I'm out of Philly. I'm responsible for myself. If someone in Philly, one of my properties are doing something, I'd call the cops, and the cops would, in most instances, promptly remove them. And that's why I think, I'm not blanket defund the police, because that's something they'll do. They'll resolve the issue. When a guy tried breaking into my other house, the cops showed up literally in like 1 minute. It was amazing. And the cop said to me, if it was me, I would answer the door with a shotgun. And I'm like, bro, we're in New Jersey. It's not that easy. It's not that hard, but you know.
I have sympathy for the cops. I talk to a lot of cops in DC. I've got a lot of sources inside MPD, and they are always constantly telling me how opposed they are to Mayor Bowser, how opposed they are to the Black Lives Matter stuff on the street, how opposed they are to the sort of rules of engagement that they have and the restrictions that are put on them, and how difficult it is to check out riot gear, and like all these things that make it even just harder for them to do their job, harder for them to be safe, etc. There's a constant conflict there. So, and the guys that staff the DC,
what are they doing about it?
Hold on. I hear you. The moment they go in undercover and arrest a guy for serving food is the moment I say, bye-bye.
Yeah.
I don't care what happens in your city.
Totally.
You guys are attacking innocent people at this point. You are harassing, you are degrading and berating and insulting and destroying the lives of regular people who are not hurting anybody. So you know what? You're on your own.
But
I don't care what New York does.
That's just a couple of guys. That could have been just a couple of, angry jerks.
Then I want to see all of the NYPD calling in a blue flu and saying this crossed the line, we won't enforce it.
And they won't do that.
They won't.
They'll stand back while riots happen. They'll have the little slowdown as, of course, riots are hitting Fifth Avenue, and they won't do anything then, which they did, and leaving people helpless as, of course, people are just literally running down the street taking whatever they want. That's literally what happened. There was police officers during riots in New York City that were on the same block just standing by, kicking rocks, not doing anything. Fox News was there 2 o'clock in the morning filming them, be like, I don't know what's going on. This huge shock on this Fox News reporter's face. I can't believe the cops are just standing there and these guys are just running into all these stores and taking whatever they want. What do you think was going to happen?
They did nothing during the riots.
Exactly.
And then the moment Cuomo says, by decree, your life is destroyed, the police went, with pleasure. Yeah, we're going to go beat the crap out of people.
Stick up for my DC MPD guys. I think it's different in New York. That's just the vibe that I get from the cops in DC and what I observe. And that's what I observe on the street and as a citizen in DC.
And that's what I was trying to say just a moment ago.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to blanket my small town cops outside of the Philly area because they were really awesome. They did a great job. But when you look at New York City, why should I care?
Yeah.
They defunded the cops $1 billion. Good. I don't care. These cops. They go undercover and sting a bar for serving food. Terrible. But what about during the riots?
Terrible.
Yeah, just the worst possible. And so I look at Portland, and they got this new Red House autonomous zone. They're laying booby traps and stuff, and I'm just like, you know what? At this point, why should I support any of these guys in these cities? They locked down Oregon. They shut down these businesses. And when the riots were going on, many of the cops, when they were told not to interact with the federal police, they said, okay. And they were like, we wish we could help. Bro, you're a human being. You can make a choice. Nothing's stopping you from making a choice. Imagine if, you look at any comic book hero. Look at the Marvel movie Civil War. Imagine if the heroes were all like, oh, gosh darn it, they told us we couldn't go and fight the bad guy. Oh, well, and they just didn't.
You bring up a good point with your joke. It does take a superhero to resist, to say no to a direct order, to maybe perhaps violate who knows what they believe the law is, what their education level is on these decrees versus legislation, whatever. It takes a hero to stand alone in a circumstance like that. I'm not saying it justifies doing this sting.
Listen.
But I'm just saying, it does take a special.
Well, we should be honest about this. A lot of officers are self-serving. Yeah. A lot of officers, when they're given a choice, hey, do you want to have a paycheck for your family, or you want to not have a paycheck for your family? They're going to make the decision that's going to work out for them best. And this is why we have them doing absurd things like dressing up as undercover average civilians, and this is not the first time something like this has happened. There was undercover officers dressing up as homeless people so they could get people for
giving
speeding.
Money.
for giving money in some institutions and in some places, and also speeding.
One last pushback. Yeah. Humans in every industry do things that hurt other humans. Yes. It's not just the cops.
But we should make people aware of that, because people are under this illusion that they're there to protect and serve. Get rid of that slogan and say, I am obeying my overlord. That's a more accurate statement.
Here's the simple way I'll break it down. When there are innocent people having their businesses destroyed who did nothing.
Yes.
I think the police do a good job when they stand up and they defend the city and they try to maintain order to the best of their abilities. It's a very difficult position to be in. And that's why I say when Antifa is calling for defunding the police while burning everything down, I'm like, y'all are nuts. But then what happens when, after you've said, thank you, officer, you did a good job, he says, shut your goddamn mouth and cracks you in the mouth with a truncheon, and then he personally throws the brick through your window. Now I'm like, bro, you're Antifa. These cops going to a guy's business and shutting it down, that's exactly what Antifa was doing that I was complaining about. The problem is when an individual, regardless of who they are, where they align, destroy the livelihood of the innocent. And the cops are doing that now, so as far as I'm concerned, they're mud. In New York City, sorry. They're the same thing as Antifa was going around rioting. The cops are doing the same thing now. So who do we get? The feds? Is Trump going to send in somebody? He should. He probably could, but he's not going to do anything like that, and he hasn't done anything like that. And who else is going to do it? Nobody. So listen, I want to reference this one more time. Cuomo banned the sale of Confederate flags, clearly in violation of the Constitution. I don't like the Confederate flag. I don't care for that stuff. But how are you going to be like that Constitution thing? Screw off. I don't care. We're going to pass the law. And then there's that viral video. I think it was out of California where you had it was a Nick's Greek, I think it was. Yes. And the health inspector, the door was open. They're like, your door is open, so that's all that matters. You're getting a fine. That's just the law, sir. And he goes, what law? No law was ever passed. There was no vote. There was nothing. It was just edict from some guy. We don't care, sir. These people are psychopaths. Yeah. And we are in serious trouble because we're at a point now where there's no cohesive culture, where people are like, we are a nation of laws and we abide by the Constitution. We're now a nation of people being like, I don't know, just, I was told to do it.
Yep, and the bureaucrats that were enforcing these laws that you were specifically mentioning at that restaurant were even screamed at by average civilians walking by saying, why aren't you at Costco? Why aren't you at Walmart? Why are the big multinational corporations allowed to exist? Meanwhile, small independent businesses are getting squashed out as these plutocrats are literally obsessing about a great reset and the redefinition of capitalism that, of course, will empower them with even more authority, more regulations, more rules, and more bullcrap that will only happen because these officers are deciding to choose to listen to someone like Andrew Cuomo. And if they decided to have a backbone, some of them are. There's a few sheriffs in New York that decided and said no. And of course, what did Andrew Cuomo did? What did he said? He said that they're dictators because they're choosing not to follow his own decrees. And this is the person, by the way, that was also seriously accused of abusing a female counterpart, which again, a lot of people in the mainstream media aren't talking about, especially CNN, MSNBC, but most importantly, Joe Biden is considering this man that just banned the Confederate flag. Like in New York, we have so many problems. We have so many issues we have to deal with. But this man's main objective is to ban a symbol that no one really cares about in New York anyway, that does nothing, just virtual signal to people how much of an authoritarian he is. This man might be the next Attorney General of the United States. Imagine the chaos, the pain and suffering that he will cause when he has more power underneath him and more willing servants, more obeyers that, of course, will follow out every one of his orders without even thinking about it.
Andrew Cuomo instructed sick COVID patients into nursing homes, killing about 6,000.
Meanwhile, there was hospitals all over New York City. There was
the Javits Center was empty.
We had a whole huge naval ship brought in that was an entire hospital. Central Park, field hospitals.
They didn't use it.
Nothing. And then sick elderly patients sent back to nursing homes.
This is why I will say, in my opinion, the only explanation is that Cuomo did it on purpose. He was laughing and smiling and he said, we got COVID patients, put them in the nursing homes. But sir, the Javits Center is only at 30% capacity. I said, put them in the nursing homes. Yes, sir, I'll do whatever you say because I'm a bootlicker.
Dude, he's a...
The son of a gun won an Emmy. He won an Emmy for his work regarding COVID, and then wrote a book. And then he wrote a book. So congratulating himself about what a great job he did. Meanwhile, he had the highest death record than I think anywhere else in the United States.
Yeah.
Are you freaking kidding me? This is going to be the next Attorney General of the United States?
Who's the girl?
What do you mean?
What do you mean? That's
Biden's
number one. That's the number one candidate for Joe Biden right now.
He's got the job because Daddy. Because Mario Cuomo has got the name.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. So come back to check us out when we go live. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and we are also available on all podcast platforms for free if you want to listen to us there. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all next time.